Steve Bright.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. There's just three things that I want to cover. Could I just start by making a plea to all of us in the House and to elements of our beloved media, indeed to the great British public themselves, to step back at times and just to understand a little more and possibly condemn a little less, and to remind ourselves that there is nothing normal here, that this is an unusual event, this is a pandemic, and calls for clarity, and we've heard it in the House today, we hear it from the opposition all the time. Calls for clarity are all too often, in my experience of sitting on that front bench in the public health job, they're calls for certainty. And that's just not how it is in a pandemic. So, just this weekend we've heard the university experience is not as billed. No, it's not. It's awful for freshers going to university away from home for the first time in a strange city with people they don't know. But I think, on the whole, universities are doing their best in an impossible situation. And I think we should take great care. I know this won't be university popular, but I think we should take great care to say that universities should be refunding all of those tuition fees, because they're what will keep the universities in business and keep them going, and to be there after this awful business is all over. On the subject of quarantine, when we change the quarantine rules from this country or that on a Thursday, especially during the summer months, we see the news bulletins full of people saying there was no notice. No, because it's a pandemic. And of course there can't be 2 weeks' notice, because things change quickly in a pandemic. I'm on the DCMS Select Committee. We hear the arts sector. Give us a date, they say. We want a date for reopening. We'd love to give you a date for reopening, but it would mean very little, because we can't be sure of where we will be in a month's time, let alone in 3 months' time, when a big West End performance could be ready. And we hear all the time, and the opposition, I say to the opposition, please think before you scream U-turn. Would you really want a government that's not prepared to change its mind when the facts change? The last Labour government U-turned many times when the facts change, and they were right to do so. Policy making in normal times, and I have done it, policy making in normal times takes time. It's a slow process, and it's meant to be, because you go through consultation, you go through scrutiny. That's how normal policy making works. In a pandemic, that's not possible. And in March, we saw some very, very quick decisions taken, and we're still seeing quick decisions taken as the facts change. And it won't be perfect. That's what a pandemic will do for you.
Will you give way?
Yeah.
I'm grateful. Does he not think that what we were doing in March is now very different from what the government is dealing with today?
Unquestionably, because the quick decisions that we had to make back in March were around should we national lockdown or not. And we had to make those very quick decisions. We know an awful lot more now about this virus. We have much, much better treatment. The only treatment that's effective that we know of comes from scientists in this country. Yeah. And so the point that I'm making is that we're not doing any of this to upset you, to upset our constituents. We're doing this to try and keep you safe. The second point is around Parliament. And he's not in his place anymore, but there is so much I agree with what the Honourable Member for Rhondda said. This is about consent, and as I said to the Prime Minister last Tuesday when he made his big announcement here in this House, we have to have the ongoing consent of the British public, or we're in trouble, and I fear that is slipping away. And I'm getting a constant stream of emails from constituents questioning the decisions that are being made because they can't see the evidence behind them, the logic. They don't know where we're going. They don't know what the destination is. Statements, yes, we've had a lot of statements from the Health Secretary, and I give him credit for it, but statements are not debates, which become, as tonight, an exercise in how many members the House can accommodate, and then the poor Minister of State on the front bench will probably get 5 or 6 minutes to wrap the whole thing up. There is an old adage in this place that you never ask a question that you don't already know the answer to. But I'm going to ask 2 questions that I genuinely don't know the answer to, and maybe the Minister can help me when he sums up the debate. The rule of 6 and young children, why are they included? And they're not in Scotland, of course. Why are they included? I don't know the answer to that. And so many of my constituents have been asking me that question. Please can we hear the evidence behind that? And on the 10 p.m. curfew, What is the evidence for the 10 p.m. curfew? I agree with what Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, said today about the knock-on effects. If we're going to have a 10 p.m. curfew in our pubs and our restaurants, then we're going to have a 10 p.m. curfew on selling alcohol in our off-licences and our supermarkets. And I'd just say this on alcohol as a former public health minister, is if people are so desperate to drink until 10 p.m. and then to get loaded with more booze in the off-licence so they can carry on until 3 in the morning, what does that say about the unhealthy relationship that this country has with alcohol? It's an elephant in the room and we overlook it at our peril. And just finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, on the vaccine, when it comes, if it comes, and I pray to God that it does, could we please, Minister, consider the economic case for the vaccine? Yes, of course, we have to give priority to our health and social care workers, but there's a COVID generation here that I mentioned around university that have had a rotten deal in the last 6 months, and they're going to have a rotten deal in the next 6 months. I think we should consider our young people as the earners, the backbone of our economy, as the economic case for the vaccine when we get there. Thank you very much.